Hello everyone. Today it's all about money, money, money. We're all starting businesses to make a change in the world and to make money. So in this lecture, we're going to talk about making money, managing that money, and raising money. We're going to talk about investors, we're going to talk about financial projections, we're going to talk about daily operations. So get ready. The biggest thing about financial management is it's not about day-to-day activity only. It's about understanding your costs, understanding your daily operations, and preparing projections for future growth. When you understand those projections, then you can understand the need for additional funding, and that's why you go for investors in order to pour fuel on the fire. So financial management is really about the managing of the company finances that leads to raising money. Because investors like to put money where good money is already there, or where you are managing your money in a good way. Now, in terms of financial management, there are a couple of questions that we need to talk about. And those questions are just something I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this lecture and this week, and we prepare those financial projections. So how much cash do we have on hand? When you start your company, how much money are you investing in your company? Are the co-founders pitching in? Do you have a crowdfunding campaign that you're going to use in order to raise money? Where's the money coming from to begin with? You need to have money to make money. Do we have enough cash to meet our short-term obligations? Do we have enough cash in order to survive this week or this month, to pay payroll and staffing, to pay utilities? You might be surprised, but even as a startup, you have expenses. And those expenses are just going to keep coming whether you're making money or not. And how effectively are you using the money that you have in order to make more money? How are you managing those assets? How does our growth and net profit compare to the industry? Are we growing as fast as another company in a similar discipline? Where will the funds that we need the capital improvements from come from? So we're at stage 1. If we need to get to stage 2 and double our sales, we need to have double inventory, for example. Where is that going to come from? And this is not only for product companies. Even if you're an app or a tech company, you need servers, you need utilities, you need programmers, which is really the most expensive thing in terms of a tech company is your labor. All those things are something that I want you to think about as we go through this lecture. So in terms of entrepreneurship, you need to think about a couple of keywords, and they start with profitability, liquidity, efficiency, and stability. And each one of them means something in terms of your startup. So for profitability, how profitable is your business? Profitability is really revenue minus expenses. So you take all the revenue that you generated and you subtract the expenses. What most startups seem to fail to do when they begin their company, or even before they begin their company, when they're thinking about the profits, they forget about a lot of the expenses. And they think that everything is going to be roses and daisies and your revenue is going to be through the roof. So I want you to be realistic when you do things like that. Just because you have a really awesome product, people are just not going to buy it overnight. You know, it takes a lot of money to market, to educate the crowd about this new product or service. And, you know, before it gets to virality, you need to spend money to get it there. So you need to think about that revenue and expense curve. Liquidity. Liquidity is, do you have a lot of assets that you can actually liquidate to make money from? I can't seem to iterate this enough, but cash is king in every company. Yeah, you might have real estate, or you might have an office desk, and you might have a lot of those physical assets. But in terms of liquidity, can I really sell this desk right now to make money in order to pay my servers, in order to pay a programmer, or to keep the lights on? So I want you to think about liquidity as the ability to meet short-term financial obligations. Can you meet those on a day-to-day basis? Now, efficiency is how well can you use the money and the resources that you have in order to reach the goals that you want to reach, in order to reach a higher revenue and higher profitability. So efficiency really describes the operations of your team. Is your team able and is your product able to increase revenue and profits? Depends on the operations that you have. Stability is the ability for your company to survive month after month. If your company is barely making it every month, it's not very stable. If you have excess revenue and excess profit month after month, it's a bit more stable. So your goal, especially if you're trying to raise more funding, is how can you reduce the risk and increase stability? Stability is not only about money, by the way. Stability could mean the team. For example, if your team is changing CEOs every week or every month, that's not a really very stable company. If your team doesn't have secure servers and it's getting hacked, or the company is not really structured well and is always in scandals, that's not very stable. So stability is the general stability of the company financially and operation-wise. Now, the process of financial management is very, very important. And you might be looking at me and say, hey, I'm the graphic designer, or I'm the engineer, or I don't really need to know all these financial components of the company. On the contrary, you're a startup, and as being a co-founder in a startup, you need to know it all. Because why would you want to be part of a team and not really know the financial operations? Even if you're an engineer, I encourage you to talk to the CEO or the CFO about those financial operations. Understand, how much money do we still have left? What is our runway? When do we need to raise another round? How much are we raising? And be part of the solution and know all these different components. Now, the process of financial management is very interesting. You need to prepare historic and financial statements, which are basically based on your current operations. That includes revenue, your income statement, your balance sheets. Then you need to prepare forecasts. So what's going to happen a year from now or 6 months from now, depending on when your forecasts are planned out on your team. Preparation of pro forma financial statements, which are really based on cash flows and balance sheets based on those projections. Are you able to meet those projections? And then you need to have ongoing financial analysis. How can we cut costs? How can we increase revenue? What is happening here? What is our efficiency? You always need to be looking at those financial statements. And when you create your projections, they're all living documents. So you don't think about them as something that you just do them, you send them to an investor, and you just sit back and you relax. No, if your goal for April was to reach 100 products in sales and you actually reached 150, then you need to update that sheet. And based on your growth curve, you can see how hitting that goal or exceeding it is going to change the next year. Or maybe you did not hit that goal. What's going to happen? Well, if we didn't hit it by 20%, it's going to affect our May, our June, our future projections. So you have to think about all these different components when you create your financial projections. So before we dig deeper into this, and there's an additional video that I encourage you to watch where we're going to be talking about financial projections, and we're going to be doing an Excel demo that you guys can follow along, and you can do it for your own startup. We need to talk about some terms so you understand what I mean when I talk about those different principles. The first thing is a financial statement. A financial statement is basically a document that explains the financial health of your company. How's your company doing? It gives an overview of your entire company. Now, a historical financial statement, if your company has been running for some time, it basically shows a history of performance. Has it been growing? Has it been actually plateauing? So if you watch any of Shark Tank or any of the entrepreneurship shows like The Profit on CNBC, you can see that he usually asks for financial statements. Investors ask for financial statements to see the general operations of the company and to see if month after month the performance is improving or is it not. Forecasts are basically projections about future income, about future revenue, about future expenses. You want to have those forecasts as mainly goals that your company wants to reach, and you want to see how your daily operations and how decisions that you are making is helping you reach those forecasts or not. You also want to create a budget. Just on a personal level, we all have budgets, and you want to make sure that your company also has a budget. If your company doesn't have a budget, you end up spending all your money in different ways, and all of a sudden, you really have done nothing with the money that you had. So you want to make sure that you assign a specific budget for specific departments, whether it's tech, whether it's marketing, whether it's graphics, and you basically operate your company based on those budgets. A pro forma financial statements are basically the projections of the futures. So we talked about a budget and about forecasts. So based on those forecasts and that budget, what do we expect our revenue to be? What do we expect our expenses to be? And where's our profit? We also talked about something very important called the break-even point. Just because you started a company, you're not going to be profitable from day one. A lot of companies end up actually losing money for the first year or 2 years, and you probably hear a lot of tech companies, they raise money over and over and over and millions of dollars, and they're still not profitable. So you want to make sure that the point where your revenue exceed your expenses or meet them at a minimum is called a break-even point. And you can define that by a duration. So you can say, based on our forecast, based on our projections, based on our pro forma, we're going to have a break-even point at month 13. Because usually your pro forma, your financial projections, are done for a 3-year period. And we're going to do it in this class as a demo for your startup. So that is all for now. Make sure you stick around for the next video that we're going to talk about understanding your financial operations. And we're going to go over the demo for Excel on how to create those financial projections.